All right, we're back at the desk. This is the afternoon break right now, so we have a little bit more time to get in a couple more sessions here. We have Tarun with us at the desk.
What up?
How's it going?
I'm just glad to be here.
Okay, and what is your exact title? Oh, I couldn't read it. It was there. Everyone else saw it.
I am a senior product manager on the developer hub.
There we go.
Nice. Dev.twitch.tv.
Right. Nice. So one of the things that we've heard about in the keynote and has released recently is the Sandbox, right?
Yes.
And so maybe you can tell us a little bit about what the Sandbox is.
You know, we've heard from our developers, one of the biggest things they're looking for is to actually feel what an extension looks like and kind of understand it in the code level and also just simulate it. And today we have a great tool chain. You know, you can download the rig, get going on it, see it running in a simulation like in localhost and stuff like that. And there's a compatibility here between the Sandbox and rig, which I'll mention. But ultimately, in order for you to actually see it on your channel, you have to move it to a hosted test environment, run it on your stream, and get it going. And we think there's a better way to not only make that experience a lot, simulate those pub sub mock API calls and actually run production itself because you pull your keys and stuff like that. So for this experience on the Sandbox, it's basically how can I visualize and see and like prototype my extension is the best way you use it.
Is that like the core piece of it though? Instead of having to go back and forth and working out of a sandbox, really it's just for rapid prototyping in a localized environment that you don't have to upload past whatever.
That's right. And I do envision a world where you'll be able to pull back up information and view it and kind of go rapidly iterating. It's like web dev, right? When you've got like a website up and running and you make like a simple change to like a text or like a
formatting
color
or something
and just hit refresh. We want that kind of experience for
absolutely that initial where you get going right away. You see
that
something
dopamine
that's running,
hit,
you know, keeps you coming back in to build more.
Right.
Awesome. So then I guess the thing about it is, I know there's some different nuances, but what would you say are kind of the best extensions that you'd want to do in the actual the
well,
rig?
I think it's not so much that you're going to be able, like we just talked about, you're not going to be able to run a full-fledged extension in the Sandbox today. What you're going to be able to do is play around and prototype with the front-end HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So with the example that we've got running in the Sandbox is the Hello World example, and so you can kind of click through like client-side JS calls, and we actually have another one running on Glitch, which takes that client-side JS and moves it to Glitch, the mini computers that they run there. We can talk a little bit more about that. But it's really for front-end prototyping, I think, is the best thing to do. When you have to start making your unauthorized call, your connections to your EBS, that's when you're going to have to pull in the rig and get to that next level.
So that is the key difference there, right? So you're prototyping, you got your front-end work. Now that you have your concept, your idea, you're going to be building more. That's when we switch over to the developer
That's when we
rig?
switch over, yep. And there will be a future where you'll be able to pull back. We talked about this in the keynote this morning, this idea of a seamless environment toolchain that works across the Sandbox, the rig, a CLI tool that we might build, our APIs and SDKs. If we can bring that all together and connect that to cloud services, which connect to your extension and persist it everywhere, now you're talking about, you're playing with portals now. So
Little question on this though. When you're doing this stuff in the rig, you're formatting all your HTML and stuff like that. Is there a way to kind of put mock data in there so you can see what it'll look like?
Sure. I mean, you can just basically run on Glitch, the back-end side, and be able to put in a database or something like that, something simple, and pull in the calls that way. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. I think the challenge is that when you start to go to production and you need to actually scale, you're probably going to use your own database, MongoDB or whatever you're going to use to run your backend and run it that way. But I think as a test, definitely pulling in mock data. I mean, sorry, I'm pointing at the laptop, and we're about to go through it.
You want to jump into this now?
Yeah.
Let's jump into the laptop. I'll let you squeeze in here.
Cool.
Yeah, go ahead.
Here, hold. Can I? Yep. I don't know how to do this.
Oh, here we go.
Let me go. Oh, there we go.
There we go.
So I don't even need to
I think it's working.
Nope.
Okay, cool.
Okay, great.
So this is the Sandbox running right now, and you can see that it has a few different components. You've got the code editor, which basically lets you manage the code that is visualized on the right-hand side. And you've got a simulated stream with a actual stream that we're pulling in using our embedding technology. So we're embedding the stream and we're embedding chat, just to give you that sense, that simulation of what it's like to run on a channel. And you can see here we have a video overlay, a component overlay extension running. So this is the Hello World example. I can click Yes, I Would and cycle colors. So that color cycling is a random generated hex running client side. And if I run it on Glitch, I can take that random generation and move it to Glitch instead.
Got it.
So just take that a step further. I can build out an array of data, or I can actually, offload some of that to Mongo or something similar, and then now you're onto races, right?
On glitch.com is what
glitch.com, which I'll show you the example. So this is me just cycling colors right now. And, we built in a small delay in refresh, so I can say, hello, Twitch. and boom. We're basically going to allow you to simulate in real time like changes. So it's really nice to get that, like I said, dopamine hit. If I want to switch to a panel view, now the thing is about extensions is that I can switch to a panel. I've got it running down here, and you'll see it's different, and that's because it's governed by a different HTML file, the panel.html, which is typical to a developer rig environment in a project you would have set up there. So I can do the same thing. Would I like to cycle, multiple colors? And boom. So you can kind of see how we're managing that, right? We're trying to give you the most realistic experience possible.
Now, is that updating in real time, or did you hit save or something?
I didn't do anything.
Okay.
Totally real time. If you make like a mock call or like something that requires data and you need to do a hard refresh, we have that capability too. So it's cool.
Got it. Okay.
Now, all of these changes are being stored local storage on your browser.
Right.
So if I refresh, close this, we're still persisted.
Got it.
So it's very handy.
Okay,
if you want to use this as a prototyping environment to come back and forth, we got that there. And if you can imagine the future of us hosting this code from Git and pulling it from the cloud.
Pull right in with and just expanding it. Like how many you can create as many projects as you want on Git that we can provide to get started.
Sure.
Let's go in a little Inception and see how we're looking.
Oh.
Whoa! Wait, what? Okay, so yeah, we can hide the browser. This is nice if you're working with panels, especially. You get that panel right next to the code too.
Right on the panel,
we thought that was a good touch for people. So let's show you a different example. So this is the glitch example that I mentioned. So you can see here it's pretty much the same when you pull in the component. And then I'll change it to the viewer.js. You can see here, this is the money code.
Okay, so the viewer.js is what's handling the front end inside the panel or inside the
component or panel. It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
But the key is this code is actually, this particular backend code is hosted on Glitch. So if I go to this URL, you can see I'm going to fetch the project that is powering that Glitch code. And we kind of give a little description. But you can see right here, the app.get call, which is pulling the random color.
Oh, there we go.
Which is powering the random color. So it's taking a listen. And so when I hit that button, it's going to go call back, check here, pull in the hex code. That hex code is rendered on the sandbox here. So it will pull in and just take the color and update it. So
awesome.
Yeah. So we think this is a good proof of concept of like the possibilities of, taking your backend and maybe trusting Glitch with that, or you might use your own backend, but it's just to explore the possibilities. And you can definitely look forward to more interesting samples and use cases that we're going to pull in here from our community or ourselves.
So, and this is part of just a larger workflow, right? Like we've talked the sandbox into the developer rig. Is there more to that tool chain?
Yeah. So when you're done here, you're going to click download code. And it's going to say continue building the rig, and it will take you to the next step, which is downloading on GitHub. So we're trying to keep it as seamless as possible.
Yeah. Right.
So you're going to clone down your rig, you're going to get it running, and you'll have it running eventually, in here, right?
Right. So that's running locally.
This is running locally. If we create a new project now and type in the information for where the files are hosted, we can actually load it up. Now, in case that is, maybe you need to follow along and have a guide. Every time you pull down this code, you can follow the README, which gives you detailed instructions on how to run into the rig. So after you pull it down, you start running in the rig, you continue to work locally, and then you'll get to a point where it's like, okay, I'm ready to actually run with production-based APIs. This is where you're going to have to go to dev.twitch.tv, grab your secret key, your version information, pull it into the rig, and keep going. But the beauty thing now is that we've removed, as some of us know, we've removed the need to monetize up front and ask for social security information and all that. We've changed it now where all you need is 2FA to create. And we've seen just so many more developers jump in and create extensions and start building their manifest that's required to get these extensions running.
So if I'm moving off of, let's just say, the developer rig and I'm going live, how much change do I really have to do between my mock data and live data?
I mean, you're just going to have to point it at a different direction, right? And get from a different place. But after that, no, there's not much
So it's all the same, pretty much just complete compatibility across
Complete compatibility. That was the whole goal. And I think as we bring these experiences more together and almost make it feel like you're just calling from a central source of truth as you move across it, then, I think that's going to make lives a lot easier for developers.
Interesting.
So let's talk about what's coming up for developer tools? What's the next step? Is there a next iteration of this, the developer rig? What can we expect?
I think we've done a great job with helping people visualize and test their extension. But when it comes to building, you still have the tools you trust. You have your IDE, you have your, your command line tools, whatever that might be. You have your own favorite database, whatever that might be. So if we can find a way to basically make that seamless, so where you can build within your IDE using a command line tool or something similar, where imagine a world you could be like, TwitchDev run extension, and boom, it'll take whatever's pulling your IDE, pull the folder, launch an actual Twitch stream, and you're just running, right? That vision is where we really feel that developers will be able to totally understand and take control of their experience when they have all these tools in place. And so we're developers, first, and it's fun to work on developer products when you're developers and you have a developer background, because you can empathize with their experiences and know exactly like what you would expect if you were to create your own tool, right?
We all have that moment where we're like, we get to a problem that we're like frustrated with or need to get through, and we're like, well, we'll build something for that,
right?
And that's what we do. That's what your team's doing.
That's how it goes.
So.
And so we want to just eliminate the complexity of doing that, right? And so I think today we're making a lot of V1 positive steps to creating that seamless tool chain. And we've heard from developers too, like the problems that each of these individual things are solved very well. It's just taking that next step of connecting the dots, basically, right? Especially if you're a new developer and just kind of going, I want that instant satisfaction of running it on my stream. You know what I mean? And you may not know a whole lot of code to begin with, which is what's exciting too, is because this is becoming like an education platform for people. It's their first time dipping their toe in the water in HTML5 development and actually creating apps. That is just so gratifying to be able to see that and see people just play in our sandbox or play with our tools and launch something quickly and go, look, I built something. You know what I mean? Like that satisfaction. And the community has also been just super embracing that fact too. So you've got the forums, you've got our TwitchDev chat server, you've got Discords, wherever people are. They're so helpful. I mean, just the energy here and seeing everyone, talk to each other and make connections. I mean, that's what this is all about.
So I was kind of interested. Whenever they do updates, right, and things like that to the code, because we have different updates and changes that happen, does any of that affect, or is it updated within the developer rig itself? Does it have anything to do with it? Because we were talking about it earlier when you kind of have these pieces that you put up that are experimental and things that are going to be coming out within a 90-day window. How does it impact the dev rig?
So whenever we make changes like improve the experience of extension development with the config service, for example, or some of our other services we have planning, we always try to find a way to hook it into the developer rig first and foremost.
Okay.
So, and the reason is because it is the best way to experience and understand your product by having it actually available. You know what I mean? Rather than just in documentation and just saying, read this thing and you'll figure it out, or, go grab this .js file and it will tell you everything you need to know. We want people to be able to, palpably, tangibly actually experience with this stuff. So if you see in the new dev rig, we actually have the ability to set up your configuration service right in here. Docs are available. So, as you heard today, one of the first config service compatible extensions just went live. And we've only had this thing launched in a week, and we haven't even told anything about it. And that's because it's there. It's where they work, right? We're going to where they are. So.
The question, so the same, do some of the people internally also use this as well?
Absolutely. I mean, we're working on extensions all the time to be able to show our developer community like what's possible with the platform. And so, as I mentioned, as developers, we like to design things that work for us as well, and then work for other people. And I think, we always try to strike that balance, but if we're happy, we're our toughest critics. Right?
Yeah, it's one of those things when you have developers on the outside to take a look and they're like, oh, well, you're on the inside, you use inside code. So the question really comes down to, are you eating your own dog food?
Absolutely. Right. That's our number one rule, actually. When we launch these services, we should be launching them with samples that actually work with them. And you can see in the project, we have our bot commander example. If I actually, I think we can create a new one. And you can see this particular one leverages the config service. So whenever we come out with something, the goal is to have a sample right along with it. So and it's something we built. So
and there's some great teams all across. Even AWS, they're working on some great extensions as well, like Twitch Picks and these other ones that And they're biting at the bit for like, what is the next thing we can use, and what tools do you have for us?
So are we.
So yeah. So it's pretty awesome to get people so interested in those tools that they're like, grabbing, and we feel the pressure to actually get these things out there.
So you guys are developers. Like, what would you guys expect? What would you want to see next from the extension platform?
No questions to us today. Wasn't expecting that.
I'll play that game.
Yeah,
I'll always play that game.
I do love the sandbox. That has been one of the things that I've said since we've had the developer rig, which is great to have. But it's like, I really wish I could just open up a browser and then just start typing some stuff. Because I feel like there's the education of how to build an extension, and then when you have the developer rig, it's like, okay, I mean, most developers will know GitHub, but it's like you need to know GitHub, then you have to know Yarn a bit, and you have to learn all these other things just to get the tool working. And that's why I love the sandbox. You just there, it's running, you can jump right in. Right. And so the more we can provide tools where you don't have to worry about the technology of the tool, I think that's a great step.
I guess the question is, do you have any of the mocking for insights and analytics?
Well, mocking is a good question, and
because that's what as a developer, that's my number one go-to for all of my edge cases. For me to test everything I'm doing,
that's a good call.
I like his answer. His answer was in the form of a question back to you. So I just want to.
That's what devs. That's exactly what developers
do. Actually, well, I mean, the Insights APIs are so easy to use. They're readily available in our docs. You can read more about them. And to the extent that, you already have a game up and running if you're a game developer, they're very easy to tap into and understand. But I think a mock layer would be a great idea, actually.
Yeah, just so that I can run it down. Because a lot of times, if you can build all of your mock stuff into your test case, you can run it down. So if you're in a team that's running a real complex one, that has a database of different weapons and things like that, and you want to find out which misformats occur, a mocking layer would help you basically populate, test, and evaluate.
And also, you can share it with others, right? Because of data sensitivity, you probably don't want your own data, but if you have some mock data just to be able to simulate what's going on, that makes a ton of sense.
So,
cool.
Absolutely.
Product feedback.
You asked the question, man. You asked the question.
Yeah. Well, speaking of product feedback, that leads perfectly into my next question, which is, how do we want to hear from people, right? We want people's feedback.
Absolutely.
So I don't know if there's going to be any RFCs for any of these tools. Maybe that's an option. The forums would always be a good way. What would you think would be a good way to jump in?
I think we've been really pleased with the responses to our last RFCs, and we'll definitely use that process as well. In the forums, you can find the RFCs. Just search RFC. You can find a few. I think there's one for bits and extensions actually right now.
The bits enabled one just went live.
So that's been a great forum for feedback. We hang out on the TwitchDev server, so that's a really great place. You want to just mention us and just say, hey, I've got an idea. We're really approachable people, so that's always the way to go.
What's a great way to get your attention? Because I know if everybody barks at you, it's noise. What's a great way for somebody to actually get your attention with a great idea?
Donuts? Coffee?
I don't even want to pull out the Captain Crunch donut.
Well, now
you have to pull out the Captain Crunch donut. I'm just saying.
We've had this donut down here in case someone wanted it. I think it's a little extreme. Here, I'll bring it in a little bit.
Just a little there. But, no, you have to turn it so you can see the whole. Yeah.
Oh, man.
So no one's had it yet.
Get your hands on something like that.
Oh, not over the computer. Man. Are you kidding me right now?
Oh, my God. So much
Amazon's going to be so mad. All right. Well, don't judge me, Julia, if you're watching at home.
Hilarious. Okay.
So, no, I mean, seriously, I love it. Just reach out to me. I'm on Twitter, Tarun Gangwani. I just want to hear from the community. I mean, one of the reasons why I joined Twitch is, and this is totally serious, is just the community has such a voracious excitement for the product, right?
It's very unique.
And unlike anything I've ever seen. Like, I've worked in B2B, startups and stuff like that, and even B2C. Like, you're fortunate to have people who are this excited. And so I'm fortunate enough to be able to hear from people. So as far as I'm concerned, all the feedback better. None of it's noise as far as I'm concerned. So,
awesome.
Right.
That's fantastic.
Cool. All right. Well, Tarun, thanks for jumping on and walking us through everything.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Man.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Cool.
And with that, we'll be